Atlantic Hotel circa 1910 source. Early tourists. The first European to set foot on Assateague Island was Giovanni da Verrazzano, who sailed into Chincoteague Bay in 1524 under the French flag. He found cedars and pine forests and much wetland, and also traveled to Pocomoke Swamp. There is some controversy over Verrazzano's presence on Assateague Island at that time. A bridge connecting northern Assateague Island with the mainland is named after Verrazzano. The first written record of Assateague Island was by the English voyager, Colonel Henry Norwood, who after a storm in 1650, landed on the barrier island in search of food and fresh water. A group of travelers was marooned there on the island but helped by local Indians. In the early 1700s, Captain William Whittington was granted 1,000 acres of land by Lord Baltimore, 15 miles south of present-day Ocean City. He subdivided parcels of land for public grazing, but little fresh water and poor soil conditions made Assateague unattractive for settlement. Isaac Coffin was the first man to understand the appeal of tourism and built beach cottages for paying guests in 1869. In 1868, the Wicomico and Pocomoke Railroad took travelers from Salisbury, Maryland to Berlin, Maryland. When the railroad extended to the Sinnapuxent Bay, people were able to take a ferry over to Ocean City. Tourists made the long journey from Baltimore, across the Chesapeake Bay to Claiborne on a ferry, then took the train to the beach. At the time, Ocean City was a small fishing village where fishermen took pound boats off the beach and into the ocean for fishing. But land speculation went hand in hand with the railroad expansion. Soon, building lots and streets were laid out, with the original plat for the town dated August 31, 1875. The 1880 USA Census shows that 48 people lived in the town, including 27 adults and 21 children. The Ocean City Life Saving Station was created in 1878 and dedicated to responding to shipwrecks and the plight of people in danger in the Atlantic Ocean. On January 10, 1883, the schooner Sally W.K. struck an offshore sandbar during a terrible snowstorm. Members of the life-saving station rescued 6 sailors from the devastated ship. Tourism picks up in the late 1800s. Guest cottages for fishermen began to open in the late 1800s, including Isaac Coffin's guest cottages and Scott's Ocean House at Green River Beach in 1869. In 1975, a descendant claimed that Isaac Coffin also built a hotel on the mainland and that, in 1975, the ruins were visible in a field near Frontier Town, a western theme park. On July 4, 1875, the Atlantic Hotel opened for business. The Atlantic Hotel was a handsome Victorian 4-story, wooden hotel that encompassed a full block. Its wide columned porches wrapped around the front and the sides to welcome the fresh ocean breezes for the pleasure of the guests of the 400-room hotel. The Atlantic Hotel, rebuilt after a fire, is visible today, hidden behind Boardwalk Honky Tonk. Most of the rooming houses and hotels were owned and run by women, fishermen's wives, and widows. Rosalie Tilghman Shreve was one such a success story. She grew up at her family's plantation, called Plymouth, near Oxford, Maryland. After the Civil War, the farm fell into bankruptcy and her father's business failed. Rosalie married young and found herself a widow with 2 young children at the tender age of 19. After running a rooming house in Baltimore, she opened a boarding house in Ocean City. In 1894, she bought up 2 oceanfront lots and constructed a 48-room hotel she called the Plymouth. While the hotel has undergone many changes including fire damage and a name change, the Plym Plaza, the hotel's unique cap, a replica added in 1963, is still visible today at the boardwalk between 1st and 2nd Streets. Visits to the beach were different in those days. People dressed for dinner, often in formal attire. Hotels offered ballroom dancing with live orchestras. Tourists rode along the boardwalk in 3-wheeled wicker carriages for 50 cents. In 1892, the Sinnepuxent Beach Company of Baltimore purchased the Atlantic Hotel as well as 1,600 acres of nearby land, hoping to create farms to supply the hotel with fresh local foods. The real estate group also bought ocean and bayfront property, selling the lots for $25 each, demanding a $5 down payment. 1897 saw the construction of an elevated boardwalk above the narrow beach. People sat beneath the boardwalk to keep out of the sun. Swimming ropes allowed the bravest visitors to venture out into the surf. By 1907, the pier held a long white frame building filled with popular amusements of the day, including a bowling alley, billiard tables, a roller rink, dance hall, and a silent movie theater. Trimper's Rides, Vintage Amusement Park. In 1892, Daniel Trimper and his wife, both German immigrants, opened the Windsor Resort, modeled after England's Windsor Castle, and an amusement park called Luna Park, like the famous amusement park at Coney Island. Part of that old hotel can be seen today hidden away behind the present haunted house. The resort featured a movie theater, vaudeville acts, and a merry-go-round powered by strong workmen. In 1912, Trimper purchased a Herschel, Spillman carousel. Built in 1902, the beautiful carousel featured a hand-carved menagerie and is, today, the oldest continuously running carousel in the USA. You can ride this historic carousel for only $2 when you visit Trimper's Rides near the south end of the boardwalk. The indoor section of Trimper's contains vintage kiddie rides like the Kiddie Ferris wheel and tiny carousel built in the 1920s. Vintage beachgoers in Ocean City, Maryland. Interior of Old Plymouth.